Hey guys, I want to give you some tips today about Universal Studios Orlando that should make your trip better and just go more smoothly. So there were things I didn't necessarily know all the answers to when I went that would have been helpful. I've been twice in the past 5 years. The most recent time was just a few weeks ago and I loved it. So let's get right into it. Here's some tips for you. All right, number one, there are water fountains at the park everywhere, so no need to bring a lot of water. You can get your water there. There's also bottled water, and some places will give you free water. Some of the restaurants and some of the shacks, burger shacks and things like that. You can bring bags. When I went the first time, I brought a bag. I brought this bag. It's a Camelback. I didn't know that there would be water fountains all over, and it was a bit big. It was hard to fit into the lockers. Sometimes it was a little bit bulky, but it did fit. It was just big, and it was cutting it close. The next time I went, which was recently, I brought a little shoulder bag like this that just has the straps, and that was a lot more convenient. I recommend bringing a bag if you want to take any souvenirs, and there are lockers for all the rides where you would need to take things out of your pockets and store them, and they're free. The lockers are free. Some lockers you actually use your fingerprint to access and store your things, and other lockers, the attendant at the lockers will give you a little card, and you'll use that card. It has a barcode on it or something like that, and you'll use that card to store and retrieve your things. Generally, things are just going to be more expensive at the theme park. I mean, that's a good rule for not only theme parks, but airports, cruise ships, what have you. Things are just more expensive. For example, we bought some ponchos at the park, and you'd normally think a decent poncho would be $3, $4, maybe $5, right? Well, at the park they were $10. So that's one example of how pricey things are. Also, one of my brothers who was with me, he looked at a wallet at the park, and also looked at that wallet online while he was there. He just Googled it, and there was a wallet online, the same wallet, for about 50 or 60% of the price. So you can just expect to pay more for things you buy in the park. Parking is $25 for general parking. There is an option where you can pay more. I don't remember how much that is exactly, but you get to park a little bit closer. It's about a 5-minute walk is all for general parking. From the parking lot to the security gates, you have to go through security to get into the park. And you'll just like an airport, pretty much, a little lower key though. And then it's about another 5 minutes from security to the entrance of the parks. You go through, on your way to the entrance of the parks, what's called City Walk, which is something that's not really a part of the parks, but it's it's open during hours where the parks are not open. It doesn't have rides. It has restaurants and shops and shows and things like that. But anyway, 5 minutes from security and you're at the entrance to the park. Most candy stores have the same or similar candy, just different bags, different packaging. So if you go to a candy store and you think, oh, I would like to get that, but not now, maybe you're not ready to buy it, feel free to keep meandering around the park and you'll most likely see that candy again. So there's 3 parks that make up Universal Studios Orlando, and one of them is called Universal Studios, one of them is called Islands of Adventure, and one of them is called Volcano Bay. Volcano Bay is a water park. I have never been to that one myself. Islands of Adventure is the bigger park between that and Universal Studios. Universal Studios is smaller than Islands of Adventure. So you can plan on spending less time at Universal Studios, that park, than you would at Islands of Adventure. What I've done both times I've gone is spend one day at Universal Studios. That's been plenty of time to get all the rides and see all the things I was interested in, and then 2 days at Islands of Adventure. The only real reason to get a park hopper pass is if you want to ride the Hogwarts Express, which is a Harry Potter themed ride, Hogwarts train. that goes between the two parks, and it's pretty mellow. There's some video displays, shadow effects. I won't spoil it for you, but some narration along the ride, and it's just a slow train ride between the parks. So if that's worth it to you, feel free to get the park hopper. If that's not, I don't really see why you'd need to get the park hopper. There's one restaurant in the park in Islands of Adventure that is apparently pretty acclaimed and has won some awards. We actually didn't go when I was there, but if I go again, I would like to try it out. It's a sit-down restaurant called Mythos, and it's apparently got good food. I invite you to check it out online, see if that's interesting to you. Prices for the parks are pretty much the same that I've seen year-round, so it doesn't really matter when you go. You don't really have to plan your vacation around expecting to pay more or less for park tickets. You should plan your vacation around the timing that works for you and flight prices and hotel prices. The parks pretty much stay the same. I think that it was the same, maybe $5 or $10 more, if I'm remembering correctly, this last time I went for park tickets compared to when I went about 4 or 5 years ago. So it doesn't change really year-round because I don't think there's ever really a lack of demand. I mean, they're always pretty busy. It just depends on the time of year that you go when it will be more busy or not, but tickets should be the same price. All right, the best times of year to go are wintertime, late fall, early spring. When people are in school, when they're not on break or vacation, and when the weather is not as nice and hot and warm during the summer months. I went in October several years ago, and it was pretty, the lines weren't too bad. And then I went in February just recently, and the lines were even better. They were shorter. So out of the two, we went about mid-February. Out of the two, February was the better one. Both times were great weather-wise. I think it was low 80s, maybe to mid 80s, something like that. So you can keep in mind when you want to go to the park. If you go during peak times, you're going to be waiting in line a lot longer. To finish up, I want to give you some tips about the rides, some of the rides at least. One tip is that single riders can often get through the line quicker than group riders. For some rides, that's the exception. So if you're with a group of people and you don't mind not sitting next to each other, then you can go through the single rider line and you'll get on the ride a lot faster. I would say 2 out of 3 or maybe 3 out of 4 rides, this method would work, whereas that 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 rides that you went single rider, it would take longer. So keep that in mind. I can't go into all the rides on what that would be like, but you should be able to tell based on the line length. All right, some rides that I really enjoyed and some that I didn't enjoy as much I want to share with you. And these are really based on what I felt immediately after finishing the ride, because you either expect to feel, oh yeah, a lot of exhilaration, a lot of joy, oh man, that was an awesome ride, or oh, that was okay, did I really wait an hour in line for that? So that's how I'm basing my riding criteria on. And 3 rides I think you should definitely go on are Dudley Do Right. That's a water ride. It's so much fun to just get wet with your friends. You do get wet, and it's quite fun. You float along, and I won't spoil it, but very fun. And there's actually a human dryer at the end of the ride that you can pay $5 for and dry off, and it apparently does a pretty good job from what I've seen with some people who I went with. So there's that option. That's a fun ride. The Mummy was one of my favorite rides. Just the theatrical experience was on point, and it was just so fun going through it all. That was definitely one of my favorite rides. And the Rocket roller coaster, I think, is the best roller coaster in the park. The Hulk compares, but I think the Rocket just goes a little bit above and beyond what the Hulk does. Another ride that I thought was super fun was Jurassic Park, the river ride. just quite the experience. You really feel like you're going into the park. All right, some rides to maybe not go on if you don't want to, or just some things to be aware of for a few rides. The Fast and Furious ride, it's only a few years old, I think. It wasn't worth it to anybody with me or myself. The garage was pretty cool that you walk through as part of the line, but the ride was a pretty big letdown. You're in a bus with a lot of people and it's not that thrilling, and it's just got some cinema, basically. It's also not really kid friendly. There's some scantily clad women on some of the videos, so if you're bringing your kids along and that's important to you, there's that. All right, Escape from Gringotts. I didn't actually go on the second time here that I went to Universal Studios, because the first time I went, we waited in line an hour, and I felt a letdown after I was done with the ride. Like, did I really just wait an hour for that ride? I mean, if you're a Harry Potter enthusiast, I'm sure it would be worth it, but it wasn't as thrilling or enjoyable for me as a lot of the other rides. All right, and the last tip about rides, the Hulk gave me and all the people I was with, all my brothers, headaches. It was just that type of roller coaster. They weren't severe headaches, but if you're sensitive to that, then it may not be for you. And then two rides that made us nauseous were the Harry Potter Castle ride and the Simpsons ride. They're both VR, and they make your brain think that you're, flying around and twisting and turning and diving. So they made us nauseous. All right, that's it, guys. I hope that's been helpful for you. Best of luck if you're planning a trip. It's a wonderful trip, and I hope this has helped you make sure that you get the most out of it. All right, see ya.